Hi everyone, I'm teacher Deddy. I'm co-founder of Kodecoon Academy, where we teach students coding and tech-related courses. We also prepare them with future-ready mindsets beyond coding. And in this series, I would like to invite some of my friends from the industry to be able to share with us firsthand on some of the technological advancements that's affecting the industries and how we can better prepare our students for the change today. And I'm very honored today to have my friend here, Zoe.
Hi.
And Zoe is a lawyer and he's representing the legal industry. So, Zoe, maybe you can share with us a bit more. Tell us a bit more about your stories and how do you get to be a lawyer?
Well, I think I sort of stumbled into the legal industry. I wouldn't say I grew up wanting to be a lawyer. I was actually supposed to go into business school, in fact. My father was like, hey, since you did well enough, why don't you try law? And I thought, okay lah. At that point in time, there were a lot of very fashionable legal dramas like Suits and stuff. And okay lah, if it's really like what the shows make it out to be, it's not such a bad career to try out. So then that's how I got into law actually.
I see. So
not for any ambitious reasons or anything like that.
So now that you are in the legal industries, do you regret being in the industry?
No, actually, I very much enjoy it. I think it is, well, I don't know about other industries, but I think it's one of the few professions out there that really challenges you to think critically and logically almost every single day. We have to swap between various matters that we're dealing with every day and have to operate at a very high level all the time. Of course, it comes with its own challenges like long hours and things like that. But at the end of the day, being able to achieve what your client wants, I think is something that is quite satisfying. Yeah.
And Joey, with all these technological changes that's coming in, affecting the various industries, what are some of the most, industry-changing technologies that's coming up, and how are these affecting aspiring lawyers who are coming into the industry?
Well, I think for a start, the most recent technological advancement that I would say has or will have a big impact, I think, on the legal industry would be the development of AI. I think we see in recent times the rise of ChatGPT itself. And in fact, I think some global law firms have already tried to employ ChatGPT or the equivalent within their own legal industry. I think it's both with a view towards helping the lawyers do their work at a much faster pace, as well as cutting down on the need for them to look through tedious and copious amount of paperwork, right? Sometimes you have to look through few hundred and thousands of documents just to find that one particular clause that you may want. For example, if you're doing on a transactional deal, if you upload all your documents onto the GPT or the AI equivalent that you're using, and you tell them with the right prompts what you want, they will do it for you in a matter of a minute or so. Yeah.
And how is this changing the nature of the legal work? Does it make it a lot easier?
Yes, I think yes and no. I would say it makes it easier if you are someone who understands how to use it, who understands how to take advantage of it. But if you're not someone who really knows what's going on, you may actually find yourself lagging behind, possibly, your peers. For example, a very easy way to look at this is, let's say if you go to a law firm and you ask them for help to review something or to do something, right? A firm who can leverage on AI may well be able to price or give a better or cheaper quote because they're discounting maybe 10 to 20 hours of what the juniors might be doing and just pricing in the cost of the AI. And so if you're not up to date, you don't understand it, you don't try to understand it, You don't employ people who are skilled in helping you maximize your ability, your tech abilities, then you may find yourself losing out. So that in that sense, it's a yes and no.
But do these law firms actually stress test the AI itself to make sure that it is accurate?
Well, I think they do. As lawyers, it's an occupational hazard. I think to make sure that everything is right, or to make sure that they double check everything. I don't think any of us will, for example, put in a prompt and take whatever comes out from the AI as the answer. So I would say yes for sure. There would be some level of stress testing, but then again, there are certain things that you know you already know. It's part of your experience being a lawyer, however many years someone may have been a lawyer. So for example, if you know that this is the particular clause you're looking for, you just can't find where it came from, you key it in the AI and it comes up with the answer. You know that that's the answer because you've seen it before, right? You just don't have the time to look through like hundreds of documents to find it.
So with this, Joey, what are the benefits and drawbacks for aspiring students who wants to go into the legal industry with this technology that's just coming in to change the industry itself?
Well, I think a very good mastery of tech is very important, or at least understanding how it works. I think that's something that is extremely helpful. Of course, it doesn't really apply to every single aspect of the law. For example, there will always be a very straightforward disputes case, or there will always be a very straightforward employment matter that you can deal with that you may not need tech. But it's really about how do you position young kids who are aspiring to be lawyers. How do you best position them to be able to go as far as they can maximize their potential? I think a mastery of tech and understanding how tech works is very important. For example, I think we have seen an increasing amount of crypto and tech-related disputes, as well as crypto and tech-related deals flow into Singapore. And it's very hard for you to advise your clients if you don't even understand how your client's business model works, right? Or how the tech works. You may be dealing with a case where a trading platform developed by your client erroneously executed trades for one of its customers. The customer is now claiming money against your client. It may force you to have to look at the coding behind the algorithm. Of course, you have experts that will help you. You engage experts that will help you, but the experts will also talk to you in a certain language. And if you don't understand that, right, how are you going to further value add to your client? How are you going to advance your client's case? It's going to be a tough sell.
Nice. So with this, would you have some advice or tips, on how our students can better prepare themselves if they aspire to be a lawyer today?
Well, I would say be as curious as you can. Always find out how things work. For example, and I think this, well, it's also applicable to us. It's especially applicable to me because, of course, none of us grew up in like the TikTok generation, right? But there's a difference between knowing how to use Instagram, knowing how to use WhatsApp, knowing how to use TikTok, and understanding how it actually works. If you know how to use it, everybody knows how to use it. Everybody can learn how to use it. But to understand how the whole system on its back end actually works is something that's very different. So I think there's always a need for you to be curious about every single thing that you come across. And never stop learning.
Okay, be curious, right? And Joey, you mentioned also about the different technologies, right? Like artificial intelligence, you mentioned about crypto, as well as blockchain, right? These are buzzwords and popular words that I think parents out there and students out there have also started to be exposed to. How are these more emerging technologies affecting the industry?
I think they're playing an extremely important role in shaping the legal industry. Um, I wouldn't go as far as to say that all these emerging technologies would replace lawyers. I think, well, I mean, coming from the industry, I hope they don't replace us. But I think it's always a matter of working hand in hand, understanding how to leverage all the new technologies. But I think for sure it is changing it a lot. And some stuff that junior lawyers 10, 20 years ago are expected to work long hours to do. For example, just finding cases, reading through textbooks just to find cases. Nowadays, people expect them to pick it up a lot faster, to find this case at a much faster pace, simply because of the availability of information, the availability of technological tools to help you. Well, I mean, the other day, my colleague and I, we were actually testing out ChatGPT to see how useful it is in digging up relevant cases for us. Of course, it's not pinpoint. There are many cases that are not publicly available, and that's why ChatGPT or all these open source AIs may not be extremely accurate, but it gives you a sense of where you should go, gives you a sense of direction, and things like these are things that young lawyers, I think, especially for kids now, when they become lawyers in the future, 10, 20 years, they're expected to be able to leverage on these things like this to find answers in just 5, 10 minutes. Yeah, it's just really the rapid pace.
Are there limitations of ChatGPT or AI versions of the legal industry? Because I understand that when it comes to jurisdictions and law, it's governed by specific areas or countries, right? Would there be?
So that's a very good question. I think, I mean, the limitations of the answers themselves are by and large limited to the data set that I think all these AIs are built on. For ChatGPT itself, I'm not too sure what Microsoft or what I think it's OpenAI used in the past, but I know the data set is up to 2021. Yeah, so even for any jurisdictions that you are trying to use all these AIs for, there are things like this. There are always limiters there, and that is why I said earlier on, it's very hard for, I guess, us to be replaced, at least for now. But then again, it's also very important, as I said earlier on, that you need to know how these things operate, how they are built, what data sets go into it to better understand the limitations. Yeah, and similar with a lot of tech applications now, you need to at least understand what sort of I guess codes or algorithms are used within the applications themselves, or just have some brief vague idea. I think that will allow you to better appreciate why things work the way they do.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to understand the input as well, right? Like you mentioned the year just now.
Yeah.
Now, for students who have actually learned coding and are interested to go into the legal industries, are there any form of career path and opportunities that you see? Because Zoe, you mentioned just now that if it takes a lot shorter time for lawyers to, let's say, find cases and find documents, where are most of the time that the lawyers are going to be spending on to value add the work?
Well, I guess in response to the second question, it would be knowing how to value add, because there's only so much you can do with what you can find online or whatever AI gives you. The part where we play a very big role in is knowing how to use what is given to you for your client. For example, the AI may come up with cases that are not that helpful to your client. And then, of course, it's up to you now to review the cases itself to see if there's a way you can
go deeper.
distinguish, right?
Yes.
Go deeper, distinguish the facts, distinguish the law. Maybe it comes from different jurisdictions. So I think that's where we value at as lawyers. On the first part, which is on where the students who are now experiencing coding or have an interest in coding, where can they go in law? I think there's actually a huge surge in tech related roles in the legal industry in the past, I would say 5 to 10 years. And it's both in contentious and non-contentious area of the law. We have in many major law firms tech departments who focus either on tech disputes or on tech deals. Because tech is also an emerging, I guess, area everywhere in the world, there's also increasing regulation on tech. And there are also many law firms that have come up with departments that are purely advising on the regulatory aspect of tech. For example, if you want to tokenize something in Singapore, right? You want to you would have to be concerned about whether it falls within the definition of like a digital payment token under the relevant laws in Singapore. For example, if you want to operate a digital or e-money wallet, like one of your payment apps, right, on your phone, you need to be concerned about whether you need to apply for a license under the Payment Services Act. So increasingly, we see a lot of regulations, not only in Singapore, but across the world. And I think that's where young students or young kids who have an interest in coding can find themselves having this wide variety of choice, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So Zoe, going back into more of your educational background, right? 'Cause you graduated from NUS,
Yes.
right? And you were learning just purely law, right, in NUS.
Yes.
So now, how do you see universities adapting to this? Are there universities that are teaching lawyers to code as well, or is it going to be part of the module? Are you aware of that?
I'm not entirely aware of that. I do know that for NUS, I think once you are in your 3rd or 4th year, you are allowed to take or I guess you're allowed to take modules in other courses or other schools. I don't think there is any prescribed course that you must take. Just whichever you want, you can don't take as well. They really leave it to the students to exercise their freedom of choice, I guess, to choose what they want. I think in SMU, they recently announced about 2 or 3 months ago that there were specialized tracks for SMU law students to choose what they may want to specialize in. Although I would say when we come to things like coding, it's a lot more specialized and a lot more niche. And those are things that people would generally have to pursue outside of their studies. For those who are Singaporean or PR, there's always skills futures, right?
Yes.
You can always make use of things like that to upskill yourself. And in fact, that's actually what I did. I used my skills futures credit for a Python course.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there are many ways to try and upskill, I think. It's really down to how you see yourself being able to, I guess, distinguish yourself amongst your peers.
Yeah, and I think what we are seeing is that it's not just about the coding skill itself, right? But it's also around future ready mindsets and
Exactly.
the ability of the child to be comfortable around technology.
Correct.
Right, like you mentioned just now, to continue to be curious and inquisitive, right? Because technology keeps changing, right? And it's affecting the industry as well.
Yes.
So Zoe, if you could turn back the time and meet a younger Zoe, right? Are there any tips and tricks that you would share with yourself or even our students to be able to prepare for the legal industry?
I think I always tell the interns that I meet and the law students that I speak to in career fairs and things like that. That there are two things that I think if I did when I was younger, it would be much better. Maybe not, I don't know how much better it would be, but for my career, but I would say that it would at least give me a much sharper edge in today's society. First, of course, is like I said, I think coding is a very important thing to do. I think how coding helps you train to think logically is one of the more valuable life skills that I think is useful as a lawyer, logically and critically, I think. The second one is something that I'm still trying to do myself, is to be very good in a second language.
Okay.
So I think mastery of more than one language is extremely important because the world is getting increasingly global,
Yes.
right? The ability to speak more than one language, to connect more than just people who speak English, will give you also that added edge to understanding both how or I guess accessing a wider crowd. Yeah.
So maybe you can share with us a bit more, because we have students who are also struggling with Chinese, Mandarin, right? How do you see like say the second language, any second language that you think is slightly more relevant in the legal industry and is increasingly more
Well,
important?
I think it's a mix. It really depends on where or what sort of work you want to do. But I would say, just generally going by the size of the population, of course you have Mandarin and you have your Bahasa in Indonesia. Actually, that is actually quite a valuable language to know. Aside from these two, of course, Bahasa Indonesia and Bahasa Melayu, there are some differences here and there. But of course, if you know both, that's great. If you know one, very good already. Then you have your emerging countries as well, like knowing how to speak Thai or Vietnamese. These are things that are very useful as well. So really depends on the sort of target audience that you want to specialize, I guess, have a specialty in.
And at what level of proficiency for this? Is it more conversational, or do you think it's important for you to be able to read and write those documents as well?
It's a very good question. I think as long as you have the ability to I guess as long as the ability is conversational, that's already good. It's even better if you have it at the business level. But then again, there are many ways to sort of, I guess, skin a cat, right? If you're only proficient at a conversational level, that also allows you to connect with your clients on a different level. Right? If I'm meeting someone who is Chinese and I can speak Chinese, I can tell them, oh, I've gone to this places in China. That allows us to already hit it off at a different level.
Definitely.
Right? Of course, when it comes to work, I wouldn't be able to do that, but that helps break down barriers, right? If you can do it at a business level, that's much better. But then again, it does take a lot of commitment and hard work, and I guess being conscious of yourself and of using that language. I think that's something that in Singapore we often fail to do, even for myself.
Right. So the applications itself,
Exactly.
right? And Zoe, just now you mentioned that there are now different tracks in the legal industries.
Yeah.
Maybe if you could share some light, right? What are the different tracks that the students can be exposed to now?
Now, I think it may be a bit tough for them to have something to, I guess, even understand now. I would say even for law students who are thinking, who are soon going into practice, practice is very different from the study of law. what you study when you're in school are very theoretical. When you go out into practice, the application of the law itself is actually very different. So I don't actually have any good advice, unfortunately. But I would say the most important thing about being a lawyer is really, at the end of the day, being able to think critically and to use all the facts that are available to you. I think that's so. I guess at this stage, it's really more of the students having to think broad, be aware of everything that's going on in the world, and always again be curious about how things work. I think that's really that's as best as I can go.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Zoe. I think I just wanted to thank you for your time. If
Yeah,
there's
no
any parting words, right, for our students and parents, what can you share with them?
Parting words. Let's see. That's even harder than any question you've asked me today. I think always try to for the kids. I think it's always important to think or wonder how things work and why they work the way they work. I think that's very important. I think for the parents, it's very important for you to not, I guess, to encourage your kid to be curious about everything. Of course, about the right things. What's right or what's wrong, it's also a hard call. But I think it's always important to encourage your kids to ask questions, to find out things, encourage their curiosity, breed the curiosity, because it's because when as they get older or when they go out, or especially in the area of law, if they do want to be lawyers, being curious is an extremely critical aspect of being a lawyer, because when you're curious, you ask the right questions. You know that there's something that's off. You know that you have to ask questions. It takes time for you to train yourself to ask the right questions, but when you get there, that's when you can start building yourself to be a better lawyer.
Yeah. It reminds me of one of the, because we have this peer pedagogy, and the E stands for embrace questioning, where we tell our students there's no stupid questions, right? We encourage them to ask what is on their mind. Good. Thank you so much, Joey, for your time, right, and advice. And we'll come to the end of this episode. Stay tuned as we invite more of our friends from the industry to share with us about technological changes and how we can better prepare our students for the change. Thank you.